arrivo, chiudo un attimo le porte, sto una foto ok. Allora, questo è Arthur Cravan, sì? E questo è il poster of Arthur Cravan and Jack Johnson fighting in 1916 in Barcelona. And I was able to find the poster. It's based on it's not the original, but it's based on the original, right? So it's pretty expensive to buy this poster, but then I found out you can buy this book, and in this book is the poster. And the person who sold it to me didn't know about it. So that was a great find. So actually we'll work with these books today. We'll show you my little archive. I'm an historian, so we'll go a bit into history. Ok, sono tutti lì?
Sì, magari questo lo mettiamo
Sì.
o qui, lo metto io. Sono in mezzo.
No, it's fine.
Ok, perfetto. Allora, benvenuto at the Boxing Gallery. For the opening of the Boxing Gallery, right? This is the first time that we're using the space. My name is Paenhuysen, and credo che in 2 anni posso parlare tutto in italiano, circa 2 anni, sì. Ma oggi parlo ancora in inglese, scusa.
Brava.
Okay. Allora, the Boxing Gallery is a place for happenings. And these happenings can take place with an audience or without an audience, it's also fine.
Yeah.
Or they can be private, like this was a private invitation, or they can be public, they can in many ways. And the Boxing Gallery is inspired by the boxer and the poet Arthur Cravan, and it is founded under the auspices of the Fondazione Arthur Cravan. Helga is the founder of that foundation, one of them, of course. And so what is better to get a bit of an idea of what this space can be than to go back to the inspiration, to Arthur Cravan. So that's what we're going to do today, to go back to the spirit of Arthur Cravan. And I hope that you will all exit this gallery as what they call Cravanists. You will be a Cravanist. There are only a few of those at the moment in the world, so this will be multiplying fast. And if you are a Cravanist, you will have Cravanesque ideas. And if after this you have a Cravanesque idea, then you can come back and try it out in this space. So that's the idea, right? Helga is a Cravanist since 2004. Since the year 2004, when she founded the Fondazione Arthur Cravan. I am a Cravanist without knowing. I became one in 2017 when I came here for the first time on a residenza insensata, a senseless residency, here in the back, organized by Helga and Silvia, Cosmiche. And the idea of that senseless residency, that for the most time I lie horizontally on the sofa and do nothing. Why is that Cravanesque? I will explain to you this in my talk at this moment. That will be that moment. We're still far off. So here we will talk about the reason why lying on the sofa is a very Cravanesque thing to do. Cravan himself, so I've been using this map to follow my talks. It's a very complicated topic, Arthur Cravan, so we will go through this during the talk. Arthur Cravan himself, his name, his real name, so to say, is Fabian Avenarinus Lloyd. But he took on many names, and also he took on many roles. I told you he's a poet and a boxer, but that's just to put it easily. He called himself also a sailor, a forger, a critic, a hotel rat, a bricoleur, chauffeur, a snake charmer, a gold prospector, a poet with the shortest hair in the world, and so on and so on. So you can imagine that talking about Arthur Cravan is a very vast field. Therefore, I chose a focus. I had to focus myself, right? Because it's too vast to encompass in a short, which this will be. This will be a short talk. And I decided to focus on a film of 1924, Entr'Acte. Arthur Cravan died or actually we don't know if he died. He disappeared in 1918. So this film has actually nothing to do with him as such. But some say, and there are a lot of conspiracy theories around Arthur Cravan, that this film is based on his life. So we're gonna find out more about that. Picabia, who made this film, it's actually by René Clair who made the cinematography, but Picabia wrote it. He's been called also an awakener, someone who wakes up people. He woke up Marcel Duchamp in 1912 by introducing him to a crowd of people, different kind of people, which for him opened his eyes to another kind of art. So in 1924, maybe Picabia was the awakener of Arthur Cravan. No, he woke up Arthur Cravan again. So to go back, I'm going to start with Maxime. Maxime is a restaurant in Paris. And this is where Picabia wrote the script for Entr'Acte. Why is this important? It's always nice to know where people write their stuff, right? He wrote it at, Maxime is a very famous restaurant in Paris, like until the 70s, 80s. Brigitte Bardot came there, like Grace Jones, like you name it, right? Marlene Dietrich, all those people. So he wrote it during dinner, which means he wrote it really fast, right? And that's typically Picabia. He liked it fast. Which was actually in contrast to the whole scene around him at the restaurant. I'm going to quote now Jean Cocteau, who was also a frequent visitor of this restaurant, and who said, now we're going to go all the way to here to this quote. He said that everyone was dressed in so much like stuff, you know, like it was an accumulation of velvet, lace, ribbons, diamonds. And what all else is I couldn't describe. To undress one of them is like an outing that calls for 3 weeks advance notice. It's like moving house. You know, it takes 3 weeks, like it's like moving house. So no, so there was this long-term moving house, and then there was this Maxime dinner. Picabia was there doing very fast the script for Entr'Acte. Here's where I'm going to show you one of my books that I found of Picabia, his memoir. It's called Caravanserai. Normally, Caravanserai, you write it like this, no? Caravanserai, without the L. And it means an inn at a road, so where travelers at a road where they stay for a break, right? That's what a caravanserai means. And now he added an L to it, so it becomes a rail. It becomes even more speed. The traveler's inn becomes like a speedy place to be, right? So Francis Picabia, nothing took long, nothing goes deep. That was his kind of motto. And in this book he talks about playing roulette, going to seances, then going to a party, then car racing to Monte Carlo, then to Marseille and so on. So he said that he preferred a chair at the Paris casino to one at the Académie Française. So it was rather at the casino than Académie Française. This is interesting because, oh yeah, a little bit about this book. Here you can see a photo of Man Ray photographing him, Picabia, car racing in 1924. And it's called Francis Picabia en vitesse. in fast speed. This book was never published. This script, he finished it in January 1924, but never published it. It got lost for a while, and then it was published in the 70s after Picabia died. Why? There we go to this magazine that Picabia published, 391. It's based on 291 of Alfred Stieglitz's magazine in New York. And here he publishes at one point, I think it's this one. No, he publishes a letter, une lettre de mon grand-père, a letter of my grandfather. And who was this grandfather?
No.
André Breton. Breton, why? So Picabia had sent this manuscript to his friend Breton, who was about to found Surrealism in 1924. And Breton wrote back, un roman fort ennuyeux. Not a bit boring, but really boring. Of course, Picabia was very pissed by that, right? And so he, instead of he published this letter, and he called it a letter of my grandfather, right? So as a bit of a payback, but still, it never got published. The novel after that, so Picabia didn't feel like it anymore. So yeah, we stay here. So Entr'Acte, what is interesting about it? So it was written in speed at Maxime, but Entr'Acte means a break. It is a break between acts. And you would think a break is a pause. That's very strange for Picabia, the one of speed, to take a break, to take a pause, right? That's a contradiction, termist. And actually, Entr'Acte is part of a theater play that Picabia wrote. Where is it? It's called here, Relâche. And it was performed at the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées. The Entr'Acte movie was done on the rooftop of the Champs-Élysées. So Relâche means the summer break of theater. In August, it's Relâche. The theater is closed. So Entr'Acte is a break within a break. And what is even more, Satie wrote the music. In the film, in the theater play, when the music goes, nobody dances. When the music stops in the break, the actors start acting. So it's a break within a break within a break, right? But the idea of the break is here that, you know, he doesn't want people to get restless in the break of the theater. So for you not to get bored and restless, he makes this in between entertainment. Entr'Acte is a divertimento, so the people don't get bored. So actually it fits perfectly with his philosophy. And as we know now, right? We never get bored. We always have our phones, like the idea of a break is totally lost on us, right? And Picabia might be the first cause of that, right? So, okay, so here we are with Entr'Acte, and what he said to, in his magazines to promote Relâche, the theater play with the film Entr'Acte, is wear dark glasses and bring something with which to pluck your ears. So dark glasses, something to pluck your ear, which means it's going to be loud, and it's going to be a lot of sun, a lot of hot, a lot of heat, a lot of energy, right? It's going to be typically a lot of energy going on. This is that. So Picabia, he was not a Dadaist, he was also not a surrealist really, but he was an instantaisme. This instant is instantaisme. Instantaisme. And that is inspired most probably by the magazine of Arthur Cravan, which he made from 1912 to 1915. He made 5 issues or something. And this was called Maintenant. And Arthur Cravan wrote all the text for it. It was very gender fluid, women names and so on, right? Writing the criticism. And the philosophy was of now, right? Maintenant. So Picabia published his first magazine, 391, in 1916 when he met Arthur Cravan. in Barcelona. I hope you can still follow this complicated story. So, instantaneisme maintenant, that Arthur Cravan sold on the vegetable carts, you know, where they sell vegetables, these carts in Paris on the streets. That's how he sold his magazine. Yeah. And so, you know, Arthur Cravan had a lot of influence apparently on Picabia. And he had also an influence on Duchamp, Marcel Duchamp. Marcel Duchamp plays in Entr'Acte. He's one of the actors. And Ray is, Picabia is, they all play in that film, Eric Satie. And Marcel Duchamp was also very influenced by Picabia, by Arthur Cravan. When we go back to this interview that he did, this one, with Cravan, and it's also quoted, Cravan quotes it in an interview with Calvin Tompkins in this book, so it's apparently a very important idea. What does Duchamp say? He says, so first of all, he says, I knew him well, and only death can be the reason of Arthur's disappearance. So Marcel Duchamp thought he was dead, right? And then he said, Cravan asked, he was never seen again. Never.
How old was he?
Cravan, when he disappeared, 31.
Okay.
Yeah. 31, yeah. So, and Duchamp answered, never. He was a funny type. I didn't like him. I didn't like him very much, nor did he me. You know, it was he who was writing about the Indépendance Salon in 1914, horribly insulted everyone in wild terms. Sonia Delaunay, Marie Laurencin in particular. He made a lot of enemies. Actually, if we go back to this book, you will find a photo of 1916 with Arthur Cravan and Marie Laurencin on the beach. So Marie Laurencin was not that angry with him, right, after that magazine. So Duchamp is exaggerating a bit. Anyways, Duchamp, well, you don't have to like someone to be really influenced by them, you know? So Marcel Duchamp was very influenced by them. First of all, there are 3 reasons. So the original name, as I said before, is Fabian Avenarius Lloyd, and Lloyd is written with 2 L's. In a letter, yet I couldn't find this letter anymore. I've read it somewhere, I promise you, the source is real. I couldn't find the source anymore, but I read somewhere that Marcel Duchamp writes in a letter to a friend that Rose c'est la vie, his Eros c'est la vie, right, his pseudonym that he took, where he dressed up as a woman, was inspired by Lloyd of Arthur Cravan. But then there's another important thing to say, the breath. So in this book, Maintenant, Arthur Cravan, very important to know, was a nephew of Oscar Wilde. And he was very proud of that. And here he writes a fictional story of him meeting Oscar Wilde. He's lying on the sofa and suddenly Oscar Wilde appears, right? And there's a quote here that I put here. He says, "Did I not spend entire afternoons just breathing?" It sounds better in French, I'll read it to you. L'air, oh l'air, des après-midi entières ne me couperai-je pas à respirer. L'air, oh l'air, breathing. That was just before Oscar Wilde came in, when he was lying on the sofa like that, just breathing on the sofa, right? And now you will understand why I became a Cravanist when I was here on this senseless residency on the sofa. Because what is written on top of the sofa is written, help artists to imagine, they wrote it in Italian, imagine, and breathe. So I don't know if this is a conscious reference to Arthur Cravan. I believe it is, obviously, right? So breathe comes up here, and now we go back to Duchamp and breathing. Very important for Duchamp. He mentions a lot, actually. It gets mentioned in the interview with Cravan, and then it gets mentioned again in this other interview. where he says, Duchamp, where Cravan asks him, since you've stopped making art, how do you spend your time? You know, apparently Marcel Duchamp stopped, right? And he says, I'm a breather, I'm a respirateur, ça ne suffit pas, hein? Is it not enough? So he's very, that idea he has from Arthur Cravan, right? Just breathing. And then there's another element that connects Duchamp with Arthur Cravan. There will be a third one, the fourth one, which we will discuss here when we come here. So we'll go here to here. This is instantanisme, a manifest, right?
Yeah.
And this is a portrait of Maurice Carpentier. He was a boxer, famous boxer, but he was often, this portrait by Picabia was often confused as a portrait of Arthur Cravan. And Maurice Carpentier had a similar face as Marcel Duchamp. So at one point, Marcel Duchamp, he overlays the two portraits of Maurice Carpentier, the boxer, and Marcel Duchamp. And Marcel Duchamp signed it Rose c'est la vie, right? But also Arthur Cravan mistakenly Maurice Carpentier and so on, and Marcel Duchamp come together here in this photo. All right, so I lost my books. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we are. Let's go back now to Entr'Acte. Entr'Acte, the music was played by Erik Satie, avant-garde composer, and he also made the music of Relâche, of both the theatre piece and the film in the middle. And Erik Satie is the inventor of furniture music. Furniture music is a music that you play in the background. So furniture music is something you don't listen to, but you listen away from, right? That's the idea. He wrote this manifesto about it, and he said, demand furniture music. No meetings and no assemblies without furniture music. Don't get married without furniture music. Don't go into a house where there's no furniture music. Those who have not heard the music of furniture do not know happiness. Don't fall asleep without listening to a piece of furniture music, or you'll sleep badly. So furniture music is background music, so it's perfect for the break, right? People can do their own noises, and it's like what you hear in the shopping mall, right, in the back. I met a Satie specialist in Berlin. His name's Thomas Beckley. And Thomas Beckley played for me a piece of furniture music. Also, Entr'Acte is actually a piece of furniture music, but there's one that's more explicitly so. So I want to, normally you have to listen to this for 5 minutes, but I'm going to spare you, and we're just going to listen to it 2 minutes maybe. Let me see. Moment. Okay. But this is, it's called canalage phonique. It means tiled music. Tiles, right? Tiled music. And actually, this week, I was watching Agatha Christie. It's very soothing for me to watch Agatha Christie. Love detectives from the beginning 20th century. I was watching Poirot, and what came up in the background as ambient music, Gnossienne from Erik Satie. So his music, actually, it did become furniture music. Its wish became true. All of his music has become background music. And I recorded it for you to listen to, right? It's at a moment when it's with Poirot, anyway, you will hear it. And it's gnossien, which means gnosos is a feminine word for knowledge. And rather than intellectual knowledge, it's personal knowledge. It's more spiritual, more mystical, right? So let's listen to this.
I've heard about you. The things you've done. The way you work. It's psychology. It's your forte, n'est-ce pas?
Absolutely. My success is founded on psychology. The why of human behavior. It is this that I observe. Mademoiselle, it is so long since it happened.
Secrets and lies, monsieur. The past keeps pulling me back. It won't let me be. And until these ghosts are laid to rest, I can't move on.
I am honored by your faith in me.
I've heard about you. You're not afraid, are you?
And then at the very end
You kill
of
yourself.
it's 5 little pigs, if you want to watch it too. At the end, it comes back. So it's once at the beginning when she reveals to him, like, the past is pulling me back, right? And then this Gaussian, it sounds like a Greek temple, right, in the background. And then at the end, it again comes in when she finds the murderer, right? He finds the murderer.
Just one little squeeze, that's all it takes. J'espère, mademoiselle,
She's pointing the
que
gun,
justice may still be done.
chopping hard.
You shoot me.
She's crying and running out then. So this is a bit explanation, a little detour to the music that you will hear in the movie, Entr'Acte, the background music, Eric Satie. And just to say actually that I've been playing Satie for the last 3 years. I started playing piano again, and I'm just playing Eric Satie for some reason. And I went to this 3 months ago, I went to this Satie specialist because, of course, what I wanted to do is that Helen and I, we put a grand piano in this place, right? One that almost fills the space. And I would be sitting here and the film would play instead of me talking and all that, right? And I would just play the accompaniment to the music. You will hear the music, fantastic. It's a lot of repetition. Unfortunately, my teacher, the specialist told me I'm not up for it. I'm not capable. And
Yes, you can do it anyway, no?
I thought so. I'm learning. But then he told me, you know what? Why don't you play this divertimento? So he sent me another divertimento, and now you can listen to that one. Very proud of that one too. It's Les Quatre Coins. It's very short, and it's about 4 mice and a dog. 4 mice and a cat. It's about 4 mice and a cat. The dogs are not gonna like this. They don't gonna like it.
Okay, that's about
That's a mouse, another mouse, another mouse, another mouse. Good. are, now we're going to go from the background music, we're going to go now to the beginning of Entr'Acte. Here we are. The beginning of Entr'Acte was played before the Théâtre Relâche started. And so it started with Eric Satie, Francis Picabia, on the rooftop of the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées, and they're jumping. It's in slow motion and they're jumping like this. Two old men actually, right, jumping like that. It's Satie with his hat and his little suit, black suit. And there's a cannon on the roof. This was 1924, the First World War was not far gone, right? So the cannon immediately must have evoked a lot of feelings for people. So the cannon, and they point the cannon to the audience, to us, and then they shoot it, right? So that's the beginning of Entr'Acte. And actually this is very much a reference to Arthur Cravan. He was quoted saying, "On ne me fait pas marcher, moi. They don't make me march, me," right? So he fled the war. He didn't want to become a soldier. Apparently he dressed up as a soldier to be not a soldier. And he fled to Barcelona, which Spain was neutral. And that's where he met Picabia. Picabia, in 1914, had become first the chauffeur. Here we are back to the beginning, chauffeur, Arthur Cravan, of a general. He then fled away to New York. Then he came to Barcelona, and then he was checked in a psychiatric institute in Switzerland as depressed. So also he didn't fight. And there's this quote by Picabia, who's actually talking also about his friend Guillaume Apollinaire, who died in 1919 after the war during the epidemic, because he was so weak from the war. He had participated in the war, became a soldier, became wounded, was so weak that he died in 1919. He said to dupe Guillaume Apollinaire, "I much prefer Arthur Cravan, who toured the world during the war, perpetually obliged to change nationality in order to escape from human stupidity. Arthur Cravan disguised himself as a soldier in order to not be a soldier. He did as all our friends do, who disguise themselves as honest men in order to not be honest men." So the reference with the cannon of the First World War, right, was definitely also a reference to the war, to those who fled the war. And exactly, wait, how do I come now to this point? Oh yeah, Barcelona. We are now in Barcelona, 1916, when Picabia started to publish his magazine, 391, probably influenced by Arthur Cravan, Maintenant. And there was a famous boxing match, of which you see the poster here. Jack Johnson, the famous world champion who had fled to Europe because he had an illegitimate back then relationship with a white woman in the US. He had to flee to Europe, and in Paris he met Arthur Cravan apparently in the dance clubs and so on. So they were friends there. Then they met in Barcelona, and Arthur Cravan needed money to go to New York to go over the Atlantic, the boat. So they said they would fight and they would get a prize for it, right? And the fight was actually more of a gimmick, because Arthur Cravan, after 6 rounds, was out. And the first 5 rounds were just Jack Johnson doing him a favor, you know, like just a little bit like this. So the public was, of course, enraged by this. But I have actually, there's a recording of this that I would like to show you, of this a very short clip that was found of this boxing match, because it was filmed, this boxing match. Now we're gonna, can we
Close the
lights?
light.
There's no sound to it. This is Arthur Cravan. He was a big man, tall man, 100 kilo or more.
So Jack Johnson is the
was
No,
more.
no. This is not that.
No. Okay, that's not far close. We can turn on the light again. Arthur Cravan was 193 centimeters long and 104 kilograms. He was a big man, nevertheless. And he was experienced in boxing. He gave boxing classes also in Paris and so on. Nevertheless, it was a sign of megalomania that he wanted to fight to Jack Johnson. And megalomania was kind of Arthur Cravan. I give you two quotes that I found where you can see he's a bit thinking very big about himself. For a moment, I thought of signing this Arthur the First. I am perhaps the king of failures, because I'm certainly the king of something. You see his humor about his own greatness. And another one, if I have a genius, it is exclusively a humorous one. And I indisputably have a genius, the highest faculty to which man may attain, according to the dictionary, that cannot be achieved of God. What an imbecile. Anyways, it's hard to, if you read it, it's easier, but he plays with the words imbecile and genius. And actually, the highest quality to be attained, says the dictionary, genius, right? And he came into the dictionary, and Breton put him in the dictionary of Anthology of Black Humor. You can find Arthur Cravan there, because as you can see, he was a funny guy. So he did cross the Atlantic. Who did he meet on the boat? Trotsky. And Trotsky wrote about Arthur Cravan. He said in his journal, "Ship was full of undesirable elements. Deserters, adventurers, speculators, among them a boxer and part-time writer, a cousin of Oscar Wilde, who frankly declared that he would rather smash a Yankee's face in the noble art of boxing than be done in by a German." So he was on that boat, right? He did reach New York, and here we are back with Duchamp, who was also in New York at the time, 1916. And about Duchamp, someone wrote a novel, Henri-Pierre Rocher. This novel was also never finished, nevertheless published after his death. And it's called Victor, and Victor is a pseudonym for Marcel Duchamp. And who appears in this book about Marcel Duchamp, unfinished book about Marcel Duchamp? Arthur Cravan. So what is happening? Arthur Cravan, I brought it in German, so I translated it into English. So Duchamp invited Arthur Cravan to the Salon des Indépendants in the Grand Central Gallery and to do a happening. So it's said that Arthur Cravan was the first one to do happenings. And there's a nice example of that in Paris a few years before. There's an invitation to be found that says, at Le Noctambule on Friday, 6 March 1914, at 9 o'clock in the evening, Arthur Cravan will lecture, dance, and box. So lecture, dance, and box in one evening, right? So he came to New York, and he did this. Okay, what happened at that evening? He was late, first of all. He didn't show up, and every 5 minutes the phone rang, and it was something like, "Oh, the tire exploded," or "the traffic jam," right? So he came late, and people became really impatient. But he noticed that there was a very chic audience, and he asked himself, why did this lecture of Cravan attract such chic audience? Anyway, so finally he arrived. We're here in the story now. Finally he arrived, and I'll read this to you. Like a lion in heat. His hair disheveled, his head red, his collar open. Confident and drunk. He sat down at a table on the podium, took a sip from his glass of water. Maybe I can do that also now.
Yeah.
Just to create, so you can really envision this moment.
Can see that.
Like this. And then grimaced and began with a few haughty sentences. Suddenly his voice changed and he declared that the heat was unbearable, that he could only give his lecture naked under these circumstances. He began to undress, obviously determined to go to the very end. He was already taking off his pants. What would happen? I didn't write down what happens then, but I can tell you, someone had called police and were shocked what he was doing. Police came, took him in to jail, and that was it of the evening. And Marcel Duchamp, that's where it ends, got very drunk that night. And that might be, we go back here now to the story, backwards, we zoom back. I didn't like him very much, right? That could be the behind thought, getting very drunk after Cravan happening. All right, so this is a happening, then we're almost at the end of this talk. So we go now to part 4, where he is at the Mexican Gulf, fell in love with Mina Loy, a poet, and they were living in Mexico, and she was pregnant, and they were planning to go to Buenos Aires. Also Marcel Duchamp was in Buenos Aires at that moment, so if they would have gone, they would have met Marcel Duchamp again. But what happened was he didn't have his right identity card. So he couldn't go together with Mina, apparently, so he was going to take his boat. He had an own boat, he bought a cheap boat. And at one point he was going to try it out, and he never came back. So he disappeared at sea, and then it is said, and here we are at the last part, that sometimes some conspiracy theories say that Arthur Cravan is the author of this book. This is B. Cravan. B. Cravan is an author who never revealed his identity. And this book is called The Death Ship, the Stoterschiff. And it was published in 1926, although written in English, it was first published in German in 1926. This is a book of the 1930s, the second edition. And The Death Ship is about a sailor who doesn't have identity card and can't land, can't go on shore. And so is left on this death ship, right? Can never go on shore. And it's a very socially critical book. Now, why did the author never reveal himself, his identity? I found a quote on that, and he says, "My personal history would not be disappointing to readers, but it is my own affair, which I want to keep to myself. I am in fact in no way more important than the typesetter of my books, the man who works the mill, no more important than the man who binds my books, nor the woman who wraps them, and the scrub woman who cleans the office." So very social, minded. So The Death Ship, a nice detail. You probably saw this book already. Have you watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
If you saw the scene with the flaming hotel room, this book is lying there. Okay, now Camilla and I, we got this book in different circumstances, unfortunately, not so glamorous. We were in Chemnitz, a place in Germany called Chemnitz. And an artist just threw it in our hands, like, hey, this might be interesting for you. So, and then we got into it, and then we heard that some people think this is Arthur Cravan, and it's about a death ship. So, and there's like a sea shanty, starts with a sea shanty, sea song, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the moment now that we can listen to a sea shanty, sung by my friend Tara de Moulin in San Francisco on a boat, where they do regular singings. They come together on the boat at the Fisherman's Wharf in Moore Beach, and they sing together. And of course, we all sing together with her certain parts, and that's why I wrote this in very big letters so you can read it. It's hey, way, hey, roll and go, rollicking randy dandy, oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
And you're ready for me.
Now we'll have to close the light again, to turn off the light, to go to this. Because I couldn't play the piano to complement interactively, we're gonna have to do something else. At a certain moment in the film, Duchamp says this also in the interview. He says, in Entr'Acte there was a scene on the rooftop over the Champs-Élysées in which I'm playing chess with Man Ray. Picabia comes in with a nozzle from a hose and washes everything away. It was very Dada, you see. So he comes in with a hose and washes the whole chessboard away, right? And at that moment, again a reference to Arthur Cravan, there will be many more. You will see that at the end there's a dead man, and the dead man disappears and then comes back and then makes himself invisible and everyone else. So, but in this moment, paper boats come in at the moment, and they float on the roof and the paper boats. So here we're going to do an interactive moment. This I prepared with Paenhuysen together. We were all together in Chemnitz, remember? This is the third time we make these boats. And so we made a paper for it. And you can keep it also as a little souvenir. So the problem is we both don't know how to make paper boats. We always ask someone of the audience or the public, there must be someone.
Yeah.
Oh, you can. So, okay, so you have to come here.
So you show everybody how to do it.
Show everyone how to do it. Wait a moment. Everyone has paper yet. So we can all follow. Okay. Yes. Hold it in two.
Aspetta, Berta, vai piano.
Vediamo se facciamo una barca.
Corner here.
In the corner here. Okay.
Aspetta, aspetta, aspetta. Ok?
Poi chiudere, come dirlo, da angoli.
Dillo in italiano, va bene.
Ok.
Ok, questo è anche il cappellino del
Esatto,
direttore che ti sto
fatemi vedere tutto,
aiutando.
bisogna
Facciamo
Caterina e il cappellino.
No, sei troppo veloce.
Ok, and then derivate il segreto. Non davo più un posto, è vero, ci siamo.
Madonna del Dio. Ok.
And then open the hat like this, and then you
Vabbè, lo farò diventare un cappello. Lo so, si appunta. Beh, ma il disegno origami che può diventare
That's it. Okay, everyone has a boat. Okay. So now we're going to watch Entr'Acte. And when the scene comes of the boats, of the paper boats, right? If the scene comes of paper boats on the rooftop, we all throw the boat to the screen, right? So we participate in the rooftop thing, we throw them in the air, and it becomes like an interactive, beautiful moment with Arthur Cravan. Now we can, if everyone has their boat ready, we can start to move these. If you can turn off the light.
Ci vedrebbe, lo vedrebbe.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, yes. And the will now lead us to the drinks.
Brava!
Gin now outside. Okay, right?
Yeah.
No, era qui. Tu, tu.